Welcome, my name is Fabian, and in the following I'm going to show you how to build manageability requirements into the logical design. So, requirement criteria that affect the manageability quality are things that help us to operate the solution, to update the solution, to maintain the solution in a very efficient way. So at least that should be a design goal. How can we do that in a very efficient way? And since we have gathered in the conceptual design the requirements and we have assigned them to the manageability quality, we need to do the proper design decision already in the logical design. For examples, the virtual desktops and the deployment of the virtual desktop must be centrally managed. That's a manageability requirement. And the design decision for that is that we utilize the Horizon 7 connection server and use the integrated administrative console to do the provisioning. Therefore, we can use virtual machines out of the vSphere environment and do some kind of automatic deployment, automatic join to the Active Directory, automatic integration into our Horizon world. That eases up the management a lot. What else? We should be able to easily integrate existing remote desktop session hosted applications into our environment. Because we might already have some terminal server applications in place in the organization. We figured that out during the assessment phase of our design. And now we want to be able to manage that easily, manage the access easily, and make it easy for the end user to just have a single portal where to access those applications. What is our design decision? We utilize the Horizon apps, or how we also call it, the application publishing feature of Horizon to integrate those terminal server applications into our Horizon environment. What else do we got? We figured out that we have a requirement that the end user should access virtual desktops, virtual applications, SaaS-based applications, so software as a service, cloud-based application, we are a single dedicated portal. So from a manageability perspective, we need to make sure that we can easily integrate those solutions into a single portal. We need to be able to easily give access to those applications within a single portal. What do we utilize for it? VMware Horizon or the Workspace ONE Identity Manager. With this Identity Manager, we have a single portal where the end user can access their SaaS application, where they can access their virtual desktops and access them in a single sign-on fashion. During the conceptual design phase, we also figured out that the administrators want to be easily able to figure out certain performance constraints of the virtual desktop, certain characteristics that might impact the end user experience. They want to be easily able to detect those things. So they want to have information about the performance of the end user, characteristics of the session itself, how many packet loss do we have in the network for a specific remote session. And all of those things can be figured out easily by utilizing vRealize operations for Horizon. So our design decision on a logical level is that we will use VROps for Horizon to get all those information, to utilize built-in dashboards to access performance data, to access remote data, to access application data, and also to use the solution for capacity planning purposes in the future. When we are in a design phase where we talk about the logical design, we need to know which administrative tools do we get. We need to know what dependencies do we got to administer the whole environment. So the connection server itself is there to provision virtual desktops and to do the brokering between the end user and the virtual application or virtual desktop resource. So it does kind of the brokering. Important, and that's something we need to know during the logical phase already, the data within the connection server is replicated on its own, it's redundant, it's available, synchronized on all connection servers and replicas that we have, where we have installed the connection server. So we utilize the Active Directory lightweight directory service to make sure that we have a common data set. Since the connection server uses an administrative console, the Harian admin console, and since all components have the same specification, it doesn't really matter from an administration perspective to which connection server we connect to and do our changes. Yeah, so that's something we need to understand. And important, the Harian admin console is a web-based console. Since we are in the logical design phase and need to integrate constraints and the problem that arise from constraints into our design, we need to know certain characteristics. For example, the connection server must remain, all of the connection servers and the replicas must remain in one site. There are requirements for sub-millisecond latency interactions between the connection servers, and that's why they need to remain on the same site. The connection servers need to be joined to the Active Directory. That's why we typically never give them direct access to the internet, or other way around, we never give direct access from the internet to our connection server, since they're joined to the Active Directory, and therefore we cannot really place them in the DMZ of our customer's environment. If we want to access, therefore, the environment over an unsecure network, we typically use the Unified Access Gateway or a security server. We need a high availability, we need a load balancer to achieve high availability. And the functionality from a management perspective within the Harian admin depends on the license of Harian we have applied. Okay. Last but not least, a maximum of 2,000 connections is supported per connection server, with a total of 7 connection servers that we can integrate with each other. Nevertheless, even though we have 7 connection servers and 2,000 connections per connection server, the maximum supported connections per pod is 10,000. Besides the web-based administrative console, we need to manage certain settings of the Harian server, of our Harian clients, of the Harian agent within the environment. How is it done? Over Active Directory group policies. Since we use Active Directory group policies, we need to make sure right in the beginning that we deploy those Active Directory group policies within the customer's Active Directory environment. And that is really something we need to clarify right in the beginning of the logical design as well, because that will have an impact in the customer's environment that will require some time. So we need to define this dependency right in the beginning. Other administrative tools that we're going to use in our environment is the Use Environment Manager console. Yeah, so we install the Use Environment Manager console on a Windows machine, and the purpose of the Use Environment Manager console is to access the UEM files that are stored on a config share and probably also on the profile share. So typically, we just install the Use Environment Manager console. It needs the proper access, the proper permissions on the user profile share and the user config share, and then we can interact with the environment. We can create our smart policies. We can define the use environment based on certain conditions. Important, and that's what we need to know in the logical design phase. We don't need any kind of database, infrastructure, etc. We just need a Windows machine having the right permission set on the proper file shares. When we talk about app volumes, other important administrative tools is the web console of the App Volume Manager. So over a browser-based connection, we authenticate against the App Volume Manager, and there we are able to do the initial configuration and the creation of app stacks of writable volumes, or the attachment of writable volumes to a certain group of users. So important from a manageability perspective, we need to make sure that the App Volume Manager is joined to the Active Directory domain, and that we have the proper capabilities to manage the environment over this browser-based administration console. When we utilize FinApps or virtualized applications, we don't really have, from a logical design perspective, the only thing we need to know is that we have 2 options how those FinApps can be executed. So we can either execute the FinApps in a deployed execution mode, which means the FinApp itself, which is in the end just a bunch of files, is transferred directly to the virtual desktop and executed locally on the virtual desktop. Theoretically, we can also utilize physical desktops to execute FinApps. So we're not limited to virtual desktop only. The other execution mode is the streamed execution mode, which means we place the FinApp on a network share and execute the FinApp directly from this network share. For integration purposes into the virtual desktop, we can make use of a tool called finrec.exe and register the FinApp package with any kind of operating system characteristic for a file system extension or something like that. And we can use the Harian admin console to entitle FinApps to certain desktop pools and to therefore deliver our FinApps to the end user once we have packaged the FinApps as an MSI.